Welcome to our Blooming to You bonus roundtable. I am so excited to bring together our incredible guests from this month, Michelle, Marianne, Angelica, and Patricia, for a heartfelt conversation. All month long, we've explored what it means to ground, grow, tend, and bloom into our most authentic selves. Today, we're reflecting on that journey together, looking at what blooming really means in our own lives and how we can all contribute to nurture that process in ourselves and others. All right, ladies. So, looking back at this month's theme of Bloom into You, what does blooming? Oh, wait, hold on. We're going live. This is always something. Before we start, let's just do a quick introduction, real quick. All right. So I totally forgot about that. So we have Dr. Michelle Greenwell, our local Tai Chi and movement expert. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
And we have Marianne Egan, our local. Um, she's the creator of Heart Art Magic and our heart healing specialist. So, hello, Marianne.
Hello. Hi.
And then we have Angelica Del Carmen, and she's our local spirituality person. Hi, Angelica.
Hello, everyone.
And of course, we have Patricia. She is our modern shaman and empowerment coach. Hello.
Hello.
All righty. So now we're just going to go back into this. I apologize to those of you who are watching this. Sometimes things happen. That's kind of the beauty of a live show. So before we get started, does anyone like to, start us off with an intention for this show today? Anyone? No? All right.
Well, I would say, as people are looking at moving forward, when you're rooted and grounded, that's a great start. But what actually gets you to bloom and shine? So as you're listening to us today, think about what gifts you have inside that perhaps haven't been seen, or have started to be seen, but could be embellished more like the bloom of a flower and how it opens and expands, and just to bring that forward for yourself.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Michelle, for that. All right. So, as I mentioned, we have been talking about blooming this month. So, the theme of the month was "Bloom into You, Bloom into Wellness," and again, we've explored what it means to ground, grow, tend, and bloom into our most authentic selves. So, today we're reflecting on that journey together and looking at what blooming really means in our own lives and how we can contribute to nurture that process, not only in ourselves, but in others. So now let's go ahead and jump into this conversation. So, ladies, looking back on this month's theme of Blooming to You, what does blooming personally mean to you right now? And what do you hope others take away from this season of growth? Let's start with you, Dr. Michelle.
I would say, I've been out harvesting the apple blossoms and the dandelion. And the dandelion, I had forgotten as a child, you would wait for that. Well, you'd pick the dandelions to give to mom, first of all. But the second would be you'd take the dandelion when it had its seed pod, its flower of life ready to go, and you would blow on that. And that's where dreams come true. So if you start to think about in the garden and the flowers are starting to bloom, what are they showcasing? And it can be in color, it can be in smell, it can be in the look that they come in all together. And I think sometimes we forget about how we bloom, how we show ourselves. In what way do we show up in the world? And it might not just be us showing up in the world, but our actions, how they show up in the world. And are we putting forward the actions that we really want people to remember us by? And, where have we put our hand in where other people have just needed a lift up? And to think about some of those other aspects that help us to bloom because we've cared. So that's my reflection.
Awesome. Marianne?
Well, for me, I was just thinking about being in the in the present moment. And you've just reminded me, Dr. Michelle, about being out in the garden. I was out in the garden yesterday, and I looked at the apple tree that I felt was not going to come, I thought it was going to die off. It is now taller than I am. And this was planted from pips that I got my grandchildren to plant and seed. And then we put it out in the garden when it was big enough. It's growing so big now, and it's the leaves on it. I cannot believe in 4 short weeks how it's really come on and blossomed and grown, And when I look back on how this month has been for me, how much I've grown myself, just being in that present moment, doing the things that bring me joy. And what brings me joy is primarily being content, happy and content in my own skin. It took me a long time to get to that place, but I'm so grateful for that right now. And then helping other people to do the same, just being happy, helping them to achieve ease and comfort within themselves. So that's what it means for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Angelica.
This has been an interesting month. And the fun part to it is the blooming has actually been into me. So I think for me, it's more of what Marianne just said. It's more of that present moment. I've been reconnecting more. I've been more in stillness. I actually let go of the outside world and everything that was happening and everything I thought I was and everything I was trying to be. And I'm actually blooming into the person or divinity or being that I have been inside, that I haven't allowed it. So for me, blooming has been more of a, maybe I'm not this kind of flower, maybe I'm all kinds of flowers, and allowing it and being able to say, today I want to be a rose, today I want to be the thorn of the rose. And it's kind of going back within. So for me, the blooming has actually expanded and opened because I came within. So that's what it's been meaning for me.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And Patricia.
Yes. So for me, I also had an interesting month. At the end of April, beginning of May, something at first sight not so good happened. However, very quickly, I realized that this opened up my space and my calendar, my schedule, and I could let go of so many tasks because of something, this one thing was canceled. And so I was able to spend a lot of time in nature, in solitude, positive solitude, of course, and realizing, reflecting on and realizing what is it that I really want to do, who I really want to be, and so on, and more aligning with this. So because sometimes, when we do a lot of things and when we are very busy in the outside world, we kind of not forget, but we need a little readjustment or realignment with our true self. So this happened to me. And so if you want to grow, if you want to bloom, I think you need space, time and space to do that. So, and that was the case for me in this month. And I'm so grateful for this. And
Awesome. Sounds like we all had pretty interesting months because I too had a somewhat challenging month, but as Patricia said, it allowed me to expand and grow as well. One of the reasons why I chose Bloom Into You and Bloom Into Wellness for this month's theme is because one of my favorite quotes is bloom where you're planted. And I think sometimes we start looking so far outside of ourselves and we're trying to do this and we're trying to do that and we're trying to be all things. And sometimes we need to just kind of pull it back and recognize where we currently are and bloom in that space. And then the rest will come or not. But we need to bloom where we are. And I think that that extends to the people around us in our current community, and because we are in the place that we're in for a reason. And so maybe sometimes it's not the phase for us to be helping widespread, but we're supposed to be helping in the immediate community, in the immediate family, in the, the place that we're currently planted. So I think that's something important that we all need to remember, as well as where are we planted and what can we do to start there and then grow out from there. This month has also been a time of expansion for me. So like a flower, I feel like, the petals are starting to kind of come out of the bud and starting to kind of do the little pretty thing. So yeah. All right. So let's move on. So each of you work in different ways. And that's one of the reasons why I have you all here as my experts, because we all work in different areas. Michelle works through movement. Marianne works through art. Angelica works through energy and spiritual. And Patricia works also in spiritual, but empowerment and that whole, bringing the rituals of the past into the future and empowering ourselves with it. So we all work in different ways. Where do you see the biggest opportunity for individuals to root, grow, and bloom in today's world? Okay, there's lots of stuff going on around us, and I know a lot of people are having a hard time right now. So where do you see the biggest opportunity for that? Again, let's start with Dr. Michelle.
When I reflected on this, I went back to how lucky were we to be that miracle where our seed was able to start growing.
Yes.
And the parents that we chose and the life lessons that came with it. And for some, that could have been very difficult. Some could have been easier. Some could have had many changes go on. But the thing about it is, how lucky were we for that first miracle? And if you think about that with the seed holds so much incredible potential. And I think we forget that when we get stuck in the everyday stuff, or we get stuck in our story, or a trauma that we just can't seem to get ourselves out of, or kind of wrapped around us, and how can we open it up? But if you go back to that first miracle and what the potential of the first miracle was, then where can you take that? And it doesn't mean you have to hold on to all the other stories. There's a lot of petals on the flower. There's a lot of stories on the flower. And if you pull off one petal at a time, you have a lot of things that you can say, but you still have that core center and that flower of life that's right in the middle. We have a photograph here of a daisy, and the center of that daisy is just up close, and you can see the intricacy with the flower of life, the symbol that's in there. And so I like to think about what that really means. We have all this other stuff on the outside. Some of it's pretty, some of it's not. But it all provides us with a way of really looking at the world with a new perspective, and with some history and background that provides us with expertise to go forward. And so as I reflect on it, I just like to go back to that initial beginning and think, we were chosen to be here. We're lucky to be here. And we have so much potential if we decide we want to move forward with it.
Thank you. Marianne.
Well, literally what Dr. Michelle has just shared, the wonder of nature and where it all began, it's amazing when you think about it. But then life can get in the way. And when you think about how you deal with either big opportunities that come your way or obstacles. So we can see obstacles as things that are going to stop and block us, or we can see them as opportunities for change to happen. It just depends on how you look at it. And this is what I found my way of thinking has become: when things don't go my way as such, then I think, okay, well, what's in this for me? What do I need to see? What's the opportunity that I can take from this? Yesterday I had the privilege of working with this lady who was in so much pain, sciatic nerve pain, knee pain, back pain, and to see how she transformed and went from that awful pain level of 8 out of 10 to 0. And she literally just put her hands in the air and said, "Oh my gosh, I've no pain," Just the wonder of it, and how we can help other people by just helping to change focus and letting people know that we do have an ability to make things better just by changing how we think and how we feel, and when you do change that feeling inside, you can change the inside can change the outside. It's like that magnet. You're magnetizing what you want in your life. I think it's just wonderful, but I'm just so grateful that I've learned so much from, the wisdom of people around me, like the panel here, and taking those nuggets of little bits of information and storing them, and then drawing upon them when you need them. So a bit like the squirrel, storing the nuts for the leaner times, that we take those nuggets of information and then utilize them when we need them most. So for me, that's what I'm doing. Thank you.
All right. Angelica.
So what I would suggest again is the going inward. I think the best way that we can help everybody in the outside and help ourselves is by us going inward. We can't change anybody else. We can't really help anybody else to change. We can guide them, like many of us do with our clients, with the people, with the things we talk about, but that change is internal. And I think for that change and that blossoming for each person, how do we change the world that's outside? We do have to go into our internal world and change that. From a spirituality point of view, we can expand our light. We are spiritual beings. We are full of light. We are light. When we remember that and we expand our own light, we're affecting the people around us, whether we know them or not. Just us driving, just us walking by, just us having a conversation. For example, today, as I expand my light, everybody in this building, everybody in the city, everybody in this community gets affected because we are all connected.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is one way that we can all remember, how do we change and how do we help and how do we do this? Well, we have to take care of ourselves. So it doesn't mean we're selfish. It means if we're not okay and we can't expand our own light, how are we supposed to help others?
Mm-hmm.
And then the second part to that is when we do remember we're spiritual beings and we live from there, we actually stop acting that we have to achieve all these things and we allow them to happen, because that's when we remember possibilities are endless and our mind is the one that stops them.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a great suggestion that I can offer is remember who you are, expand your light, and remember that there's so many different possibilities, even if you can't see them right now. Everyone is blooming. Everything is blooming.
Awesome. And Patricia.
Yes, so first of all, I want to thank all of you because everything you said is so wonderful and you took a couple of words right out of my mouth. I want to add some practical approaches to this. So how can we bring our inner core out? How can we embody it? How can we bring our true selves out into this world, our inner light and stuff like that? So we live in times where the opportunities and also the technical opportunities, they seem to be limitless, or maybe they are limitless, and the growth and expansion on the outside world is so huge, so large. And so what I would like to suggest or invite people out there to see how many practical tools are there at your fingertips. And then what's very important, because very often people get lost within those tools, and then those tools, they become masters or become a big distraction. For example, like all the social media and the modern technology. Like, for example, we are meeting all over the world, but we are in the same room. And that's wonderful, and it always depends, how do we apply those tools? How do we use them? Do we use them for good reasons, good intentions, as tools to help us grow and bloom? Or do we just consume it as a distraction, as whatever, to go down rabbit holes or to lower our vibration? So there needs to be a real aware, like we need to be very conscious as in how we apply and how we use those tools. And when we do this, we get support from the outer world as well. So yes, turning inwards and becoming crystal clear on what is my true self, and you can do it by, there is so many methods, meditation and healing methods, and working with a coach or a healer or whoever. You can do it by yourself, being totally honest to yourself, diving inwards, doing self-inquiry, meditation, whatever. Also, go outside in nature, reconnect to nature, especially here in the Northern Hemisphere, these months, spring, where nature is blooming, and see where you can recognize yourself in the tree, in the flower, in nature, in the cycles and stuff like that. So now I lost my train of thought.
No, that's okay. No, that's wonderful that you added some practical insight. And again, we are all in sync here because we're all saying things that the others are thinking, because each of you said something that I was thinking. One of the things that jumped out to me, though, that I wanted to add, Marianne mentioned obstacles, and I would challenge those that are watching and listening to recognize, is it an obstacle or is it an opportunity? Because what we think is an obstacle may be an opportunity for change or growth in another direction. Sometimes the detour is not to keep you from reaching your destination. It's just, changing your direction on how to get there. So, so that's what I'm going to add to that, is I challenge people to really look at what's going on. Is it an obstacle or is it an opportunity to grow and bloom in a different direction? So, alrighty. So, if you could offer one gentle reminder to someone who feels like they're still in the seed stage and not quite blooming yet, what would that be, ladies? All right. So, again, we're going to start with Dr. Michelle. What's your advice?
My advice is go put your feet in the grass. Go stand on the earth. At your desk, you could put a rock underneath your desk, put your feet on it. Find that connection. Find that opportunity to realize you're a part of nature. And then when you realize that potential in there, the other stuff can fall away so you can see what's most important. And sometimes you have to take the senses into nature, make sure all 5 senses, there's 7 and 8, but take your first 5, smell it, taste it, see it, feel it, touch it, and then consider what your options are. But don't try to go from where you are at the moment, because you might not have all the faculties to do that. So take some time to really be in the connection of nature.
Marianne, what would be your advice for those who feel like they're still in the seed stage?
My advice is self-respect, self-love, self-belief. And, Dr. Michelle and I spoke about self-respect this week. To me, it's like when you plant a seed, you need to water it in order for it to grow. When you start liking and loving who you are, that's watering the seed. Having that belief in yourself, and liking yourself just as you are. And maybe just as you are may not be the way you want it to be, but you start there. You just start with right now, as I said, living in the moment, liking, loving, I am good enough. There is nothing missing in me. So even if you just take those words and hold on to them and keep repeating them, I am good enough. There is nothing missing in me. I like myself. I love myself. I am good enough. That's right. My words of, of opportunity.
Thank you.
Change.
Thank you for that. Angelica,
Of course, I'm going to twist it just a little bit.
of course.
Of course. So, yes, coming from a spiritual sense and all of that, that's great. But we're human. My advice would be, if you haven't bloomed yet and you're still a seed and you're in the dirt, it's dark and it's scary. And my best recommendation is, don't let your mind spiral, because we tend to allow our mind to compare ourselves to the others and to do this, and why are they bloomed, and why do they have this and I don't, and why does this keep happening to me, and we spiral. What we're meant to do is be rooted. We're meant to grow those roots and grow. But if we spiral, we're just making a hole and trying to find the deepest rock we can hide under, because we think we're not good enough. So my best advice would be, like Marianne said, talk to yourself good, talk to yourself empowered, give yourself grace. You're not doing wrong. Stop comparing yourself to what you think you should have been by now, or what other people think you should be by now. It's not a matter of competition. It's a matter of, you are a unique rose, and all the other roses are their each rose. That doesn't mean you have to do and bloom, excuse me, just when they are. So that would be my advice. It's careful with the mind, go within, and don't let yourself spiral, because it could happen. And it gets scary, it gets dark, but there is light, there is sunlight, there is always sunlight.
Thank you. And Patricia.
Okay, my advice, again, a little practical. So first of all, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. Acknowledge and accept what is, which does not mean that you need to like it, but accept what is and don't fight it. Because when you fight it, that's when you keep digging, So, and then oftentimes it's, as I said before, there is just too many distractions. So start decluttering and let go of your distractions. And that's oftentimes it's kind of a magic wand, if you will. Focus on your alignment, because then you will see, oftentimes it doesn't take much time, but it takes alignment, and then things can happen like this.
Thank you. So as usual, each of you said something about what I was thinking as well. Again, we're all in alignment here, and I love that. So what I'm going to add to that is kind of a combination of, some of what Angelica said and some of what, Marianne said. Well, actually, some of what each of you said. And my advice would be, seeds, when you're still in the seed stage, you need water and nourishment in order to grow. So you need to water yourself. You need to nourish yourself. And what feeds you is different for each person. So find what feeds you. Take care of you. And as Angelica said, sometimes when you're in the seed and you're in the ground, it can be dark, it can be scary. But at some point, you're going to sprout. And you're going to have the sun that's hitting your face that's going to help you grow. But you're also still going to need that water and that nourishment to continue growing so you can blossom. So I encourage you all to find what nourishes you. Don't be afraid to take care of yourself, because self-care is not selfishness. You need to take care of yourself in order to see the growth that you want. Much like a gardener tends to the garden and pulling the weeds out, which we talked about, throughout the month. You got to pull the weeds out. That's part of what Patricia was saying. All that clutter, those are weeds that are going to going to stunt your growth, So cultivate yourself. Cultivate yourself. Alrighty, so we are coming close to the end of this show. Those of you that are watching, that are watching us live, or even if you're watching it later, you can still comment. I'd like to hear from you, if you would like, about, what you're going to take away from this. Did anything we say today provide you with some clarity or some encouragement in order to grow and to root and grow and bloom in your own right? So thank you so much for sharing your beautiful insights, ladies. As always, I love these discussions, especially when we can all get together. Oh, thank you, Tanya. Tanya says, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. All right, so she loved that. All right. I agree, Tanya. Stop digging. Yeah, because seeds, their optimum depth changes depending on what type of flower it is. So maybe you're supposed to be close to the surface, and maybe you're supposed to be buried a little bit deeper. All right. And so, yeah, Dr. Michelle is adding to be sure to follow our weekly chats. Of course, absolutely. So we do have these chats each week on some subject or another, and we all, approach it from different angles. And Tanya said that lots of takeaways, but that one made me laugh aloud. Yeah, it made me laugh too. So absolutely, absolutely. Some great points that were made here today. All right. So again, thank you, ladies, for joining me today. I look forward to our next conversations, and to everyone that's watching. I hope this conversation has inspired you to embrace your own blooming process wherever you are on the path. Blooming isn't a race. It's a journey to unfolding in your own time, in your own way. And until next time, keep tending your roots, reaching toward the light, and honoring the beauty of your own becoming. And remember, wellness isn't a destination, it's your daily journey. All right, that is it for today's show. Once again, thank you, ladies, for joining me, and I look forward to many more conversations. Bye. Everyone have an awesome day.
Bye.
Don't forget to bloom.